demonstration environment with as few PowerPoint slides as possible. Today we're going to be doing live work in Insight, just to make sure everybody's aware, and just a few housekeeping items before we dive in. Everyone will be muted so we don't have any background noise. If you have muted yourself and if you want to ask a question later, you're going to have to unmute yourself in order to ask. We cannot unmute you if you've done that yourself. So you don't have to worry about doing that. Our team will handle muting everybody's speakers, and then at the end we'll open up individuals for questions. Today, we're going to record the session just like we did last week, and it will be available for playback via the SkyBitz YouTube channel, which I have already mentioned. So once we get started, please hold all of the questions till the end of the session. We have factored in about 15 minutes for a Q&A. Today, we're going to start talking about the meat and potatoes of Insight, which is reviewing landmarks. This is part of the manage settings sections on Insight. So let's begin. All right, I hope everyone can see my screen okay. Landmarks. So as I mentioned, meat and potatoes, and what I really mean by that is landmarks affect other sections of Insight. So Insight, of course, is our web user interface, and I'm sure you've all interacted with it. If not, you know, we do trainings, but we are going to specifically be diving into landmarks. So positions that are sent by your mobile terminals that are near one of your landmarks will have that landmark's name displayed as their location. If no landmark is found near a position, the name of the closest major population center is displayed. You can add, edit, delete, and view landmarks from the administrator account and any standard account that's allowed to create them. Everyone is allowed to view landmarks. Landmarks can be added using latitude, longitude, or street address information. So there are two ways that you can create landmarks. Why do companies use landmarks? There are a few reasons why. To identify essential points of interest for your business, so specific to your company. Customer yards, service centers, suppliers. Filter in conjunction with other identifiers in order to make quick decisions. So if I want to find empty dry vans at certain locations, if you use our cargo sensor along with the landmark, and yard checks based on locations. How many assets are in that landmark or yard? What can you do with a landmark? Features affected by landmarks. So basically what I wanted to talk about were when you set up your landmarks, then what can you use them for? Location-based searches, yard checks and groups, trailer pool, detention, reports, average idle time for all landmarks. Idle reports include idle trends. Asset view to use as a filter, which is where I am right now. In or out of landmarks. So you can either say, I want to see what's in this landmark or outside of the landmark. I don't think everybody's muted. I hear some background noise, so I'm going to do that. I apologize. I hear some noise in the background. When should you set up landmarks? So I'd say set them up right away. The closer to the beginning of your account you set up landmarks, the better, because as soon as you put them into the account, you can then begin to utilize them. So what we can do for our customers that are already established, some customers have been with us for many years, and they do have landmarks within the system, but they're not able to edit or view an entire list of them at once. If you reach out to your CSM or customer care, we can run a report for you to show you your account's current landmarks. Then what you can do is take a look at it and edit it down to the necessary landmarks that you'd like to utilize. So how do you set up a landmark? So we're going to go over how to set up a landmark step by step. And I just want everyone to be aware that if you do have a large number of landmarks, we do have a template. There are two different types of landmarks. There are circular and there are multi-point, which you'll see as I get into how you set them up. And you can add your information to a spreadsheet that will give the required data to us that we can upload. Oftentimes, TMS systems provide the ability to export landmarks, so you can export them from there, import them into our spreadsheet, and send them over to us, and we can upload them for you. All right. So let's go to Manage Settings and Landmarks. So the first thing we want to do is add. So I want to show everyone how to add a landmark. All right, so once we've come to Manage Settings, Landmarks, Add Landmark, the first thing we want to add here is the landmark name. So let's go to, I have some pre-selected addresses that I'm going to work with here. Oops, I'm sorry. Location ID. This is actually an important number. The location ID is for correlation with another system. So a TMS system you'd use, we'd utilize the location ID number to talk back and forth about that location. 234, landmark type. So in the preferences section, you can add as an additional element in locate assets. So once you use the locate asset section, if you would like to utilize landmark type as a filter, you can do that as well. You may put in a phone number here if you'd like to. And there are two different types of locations, as I had mentioned, multi-point and circular. So we're going to start off with circular. And here I'm going to enter the address. I apologize. And then 20. And at this point, I want to get Latin Lounge. And it'll bring me right to where I need to be. So we also have some other landmarks in the area, which I had anticipated to see, and they will populate on the screen as well with any other assets that are within that landmark. So when you're utilizing the circular, you can just widen it and shrink it. You can also kind of pick it up and move it. What I like to do here is you can either use your scroll bar in your mouse, or you may use this plus symbol right here to move in. And if I'm on satellite, I also would like to see labels, meaning street labels. So everything's going to pop up. Street labels, street names, any points of interest in the area. Again, we're utilizing Google Mapping, so you'll be able to see that, all of the Google Maps points of interest. With a circular, you're able to pull the circle in and out. So I'd like to move that in. And if I've made any kind of mistake, once I start moving that circle, or once I'm in multi-point, moving the multi-point bubbles in, we're able to undo right here. So that's what that little guy is. If I want to undo what I just did, it'll undo my last move. So I'll move this guy in, move it in closer, just so y'all can get a look at how that works. Or again, over here, you can pull out the whole screen here, full screen view. Map view. If you don't like satellite, I use satellite because then I can see parking lots. I can see warehouses in their entirety. If you don't like that view, though, you can switch over to map. And if you don't really want to see the points of interest, which you probably do, you can then unclick this button as well. Now let's look at multi-point. Okay, so in the same fashion, what I did was I entered the exact same information, but I'm on the multi-point location type. What we can do with multi-point is we can make a finer point on it. So let's scroll in a little bit. And I know exactly where I'm going. And I want to pull this in here. And again, I want to move in so I could see more closely. So I'm able to then, oops. think I moved too close. So then I'm able to move this guy in here. I'm going to move this out here, pull it back a little. So you see what I'm doing here. And move it in here. Really what you're trying to accomplish by doing what I'm doing right now, and if you're doing them one-off, which a lot of customers do, I want to make my landmark frame any place that my assets will sit, and I want to then utilize that as a landmark. If I have an asset that's sitting out here, it's not going to get hit by this landmark. So we have to have it pulled all the way out to any area that we feel our assets may sit in. Again, if you make a mistake, you can undo your last move. All right. And at that point, we can then add the landmark. It's going to think for a minute. And it's going to tell me that I have created my landmark successfully, which is what I always want to see. Now I'll close that pop-up. So once you've added that and you see that you created it, you can edit it at this point if you need to and make any changes. You can also see if there are any assets at or close to that landmark. It also will give you dormancy information up here. All right. The next item is, let's go to manage settings and landmarks again, and then we can edit. All right, so at this point, what we're able to do is a landmark search. So I'm specifically looking for if I start typing, it's going to predictively tell me anything that starts with that sequence. So I want to select that one that I just created and hit submit. And the screen looks a little different, but it's going to show me that landmark that I had just created. Now, if I want to edit this, I will check on the box that I am going to work on, and I have a few actions over to the side. You can delete the landmark. You may edit, so I'm going to hit this edit landmark. I can then edit. So I'm going to pull this in a little bit closer. And then I'll hit save. Oh, the polygon had intersecting lines. I didn't even see that guy. That might happen again. Yes, I do want to modify this landmark. Hit OK. And it will change. It will make the change that I just made. Please make sure you see landmark modified successfully and no intersecting lines. And then we can go back to manage settings and landmarks. And I want to go back to edit. A few more things to talk about there. All right. See, it accepted my change and it has moved up the border of my landmark. Oops. So I'm going to put here. And I want to edit. All right. So I can make changes here again. I can change the landmark name. I can change anything I need to, not just the landmark itself. I just wanted to make sure that I made that clear. Manage settings and landmarks again. Edit and delete. And we'll go back to this one for the last time. Embassy. All right. I'm also able to make changes to the information here as well. So I can, if I'm only going to be editing these sections here, you can just make the changes here. If I'm making edits to the actual landmark itself, you have to hit the edit pencil, and then you can update here. And like I said, you can also delete here. You can also create a nested landmark. We're not going to go really into nested landmarks this week, only because we have to really kind of dive into them a little bit more, and we're not really sure on the time it'll take to get through nested landmarks in this session, but next week we will discuss them further. Landmarks within landmarks, and that just is a little bit different on the creation, similar in nature with the, you get your little multi-point and then you can drag the pull points, but we'll go into that deeper next week. And then here, show on map. So I'll click on that, the landmark name and address is in Herndon. Now the address had changed there because I moved that mark around. It's not showing the exact address here, but you do see the exact address that I had entered down below. I'll close this up. Now there are other places that you can add or edit landmarks. As far as adding and editing them in the Manage Settings Landmark section, definitely, the most direct route to adding them over and over. When you have a list of them, if you're going through a list and you want to just get a whole bunch of them done at once, you go to the Manage Settings Landmark section. The other places to add or edit them is more of an on-the-fly type decision. Oh, I want to put a landmark around that because now we're going to start using that in a project, that location. I want to add that because now that's going to be a part of our, our company's yards. So different reasons you may add a landmark on the fly, but I just want to make sure we all understand that when we're adding landmarks en masse, we can get, if you reach out to your CSM or to customer care, we can give you a template. We're also going to be adding to the help section. We're going to add that template so that you're able to access that on your own. But you can export from your TMS. You can send us the information. We can then upload it for you. And then the multi-point or circular landmarks will be added to your account. If you're adding 10 of them and you want to sit there and kind of get some practice on manage settings, landmarks, add, this is exactly how you will do it. This is the standard way to add them. But again, other places to add or edit landmarks is in our asset view section. So it's the newer section of Insight. So we'll go to locate assets. And hold on one second. Sorry, technical difficulty with my mouse. Asset view. All right. In the asset view section, I do have some areas specifically in mind that I wanted to look at, but the asset view section, again, we're going to go into it deeper into another session, but I do bring it up in each of the sessions. This is a newer part of the user interface. Not everybody has been to this section, and this is where I'm going to tout that everyone on the call, please go into this section if you have not already. Again, locate assets, asset view. You're able to put multi-filters on your account and look at just the units that you would like to. So which assets do I need to see? Which assets do I need to make quick decisions based upon? When you're looking at this section here, you can see there are many different ways that you can filter, which is fantastic. Do I want to look at installed or uninstalled devices? Which asset type? So when you're looking to install your devices, you do add an asset type to them. Again, we'll go through installation of devices at a later time, but if you all have established accounts already, you will have some data in these asset filters, which is fantastic. So when we're looking at assets at landmarks, we would go here. And I want to see either, I want to see No, not at landmarks. Yes, at landmarks. So we would use this here as a filter. And then you would type in the landmark name. And then once you hit submit, you will then get results there. I'm going to do results for another asset view filter. Go to country. We'll go to US. And let's go to Virginia. How about we get a Mississippi? Submit. Oops. That was a little different. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go. And when there's no results, that will say total is 0. And locate assets, asset view. Oh. Hello? Okay. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. So here we are looking at all of the assets in this account. Again, this is a demo account. We can zero down in here and moving closer down here. Now, when I click on one of these assets, what I'm able to do is view a landmark. So we do have the ability to view a landmark and see any assets that are within that landmark. This is similar to the manage settings add landmark screen. However, we're going to see the results of viewing that landmark right here. And over here, it will show you all the asset IDs. And it'll show you any landmarks that are near. So that landmark is the one that I had just created earlier today. Okay, let's go back to locate assets. Asset view. And let's submit again. And scroll in. Move over. And click here. And when we click on an asset that is not within a landmark, like I wanted to show you how to add a landmark on the fly, we will then get the add landmark button. And it will show us exactly where that asset is located. And it will also give us that panel that we had before when we wanted to name for the landmark that I created. Location ID, landmark type. It's going to give me that address right there. And I don't have to keep it as a multi-point. I can also change it to a circular here, but then I can also, again, put on my labels, just like I did before. Take a look. Maybe when I'm at the Lowe's distribution center, I am only here. Where did I see a bunch of trailers sitting up top there? And y'all remember how to do this from before. And again, my little undo button is following me everywhere I go. And I can move this guy around. And if you see, the latitude, longitude are changing. All right. Again, you can use your mouse rollerball. You may use these navigation tools on the side. This is for the street view. Some people like to really drill down if you're doing some specific landmark creation that you need to see street view because you want to put a really fine point on it. Use that little guy. I'm sure most people are familiar with the street view guy. You can pop this out so it's full screen, and that's the only thing that will be on your screen will be this giant map. And again, satellite with labels is how I like to create a landmark, but you certainly don't have to do it the way I do. You can put it on map presentation And then this landmark is done. And then we would add that landmark. Oops, can't duplicate 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5. Add landmark. And again, I've created a successful landmark, not without some issues. So the location ID must be specific to the landmark name, cannot be duplicated, which is a good thing to note. And make sure that you pay attention to the pop-ups as they come up on the screen. There are different reasons that there'll be a pop-up. Of course, successfully creating a landmark is the pop-up that you ultimately want to see. But if you do come across any other pop-ups, they're telling you exactly what to do, such as the one that I have not encountered before when I received the one with my line overlapping. So watch when you're making a multi-point versus a circular, that your lines aren't overlapping, that you have a nice shape. And it'll tell you whatever, if there's an issue, it'll tell you the issue at the top in the pop-up. And then again, successful creation will show you a pop-up as well saying that you have successfully created a landmark. So as far as landmarks go, again, the reasons that we do utilize landmarks. So in the future, if you're using landmarks and you start creating them, a new account recommendation is always to get them in there right away, whether it's the upload via customer care, whether it's reach out to your customer success manager and ask for the template for the upload. TMS system, can I export from there? That's fantastic. Most of the time you should be able to. Put that in our format, send it to us, and we'll upload them into your account. They are specific to your account. So your landmarks are your landmarks. And what they do is allow you to look at your overall picture and say, you know, when you're utilizing, again, the yard check report, which I would say is probably one of the most popular features of the system. When I'm setting up my yard check, I'm utilizing landmarks to do so, because my yards should all, at least, the very least, your yards should be landmarks. Location-based searches. So when I want to find something, I want to look up here, I can utilize this quick search tool and I can look in the landmark. So asset, landmark, and serial number, 3 super important items. Asset is what you name your asset. So you're activating a piece of our equipment onto your asset, you give it the asset name. Serial number is the SkyBitz serial number. And landmark, if you want to look something up and see if something's in a landmark and what's in a landmark, you can do that. Equals, begins with, and contains. So it's a filter similar to Excel. This is what the landmark name is, this is what the landmark name begins with, and it contains this. So you're able to utilize that up here in this quick search. And trailer pulls and detention. I would say 2 subject matter pieces that we're going to get to in our future training. Super helpful, setting up trailer pools. How many trailers should I have in each group? Detention used for billing for customers. 2 sections of our website that are underutilized, I would definitely say. So this is one of the main reasons for Training Tuesdays, is to get people familiar with the basics, like we did last week, and today with landmarks. Again, landmarks being super important. I wouldn't say underutilized, but I would say that people, our customers probably don't utilize them to their fullest ability, meaning I've added the landmarks, now what can I do? And then in the asset view, you can use them as a filter, and we will dive deeper into asset view in future sessions. But again, I recommend to everyone to go to locate assets, asset view. You all have the filter criteria. Let's just go there again. I'm pushing this. It's my favorite part of the entire user interface. This is where you're going to get really key information. You can make quick decisions based on these filters, and ultimately the goal is to run your business more efficiently. So dispatchers can make quick decisions here, which is fantastic. You can also use these as high-level overview dashboards, so you're able to customize your dormancy and utilization rates. on the asset view section, which is fantastic. Also, reporting. So we do have a report, average idle time for all landmarks, which I'm sure that most of you have probably viewed, but the average idle time for all landmarks is a report that you might want to look at. Are we doing okay at this spot, or are trailers sitting idle here too long? So we will be going through reports. So each week that you attend, we're kind of building on what we learned and discussed the week before. But you know, I think landmarks are a really important building block, perhaps one of the keystones of the site, so that if you get them set up and you're utilizing them correctly, then you can do whatever you need to going forward. You don't have to backtrack and set up landmarks. So get them in there as soon as you possibly can. If you have issues going forward, of course, you can always reach out to customer care. You can reach out to your customer success manager, email, phone, you know, whichever you need to do. But what I wanted to show you also was the help section. So the help section is right here, but I can also move the help section if I want to, based on my preferences. Of course, it wasn't going to do that. There are only a few spots you can move it. You can't move it into the center of the screen. Anywhere you see that little blue guy, so you can kind of trail him up the side and back down. That help section is a little stubborn today, is always going to default to the same position. So you can't save it. When you log back in, it's going to plop down back here, but you can move it around. So people do like to move it, and it'll default back to its original area. So when I click on the help section, how can we help you? Very nice question. Training Tuesdays registration is available right here. Obviously, you're on this call right now, which is fantastic. If you have others in your organization who need to utilize Training Tuesdays, we have many weeks ahead of us of Training Tuesdays. So if other folks in your organization need to learn about different sections of Insight, you can pop in when you need to. We, of course, always want you to come to this 1 hour of training a week. It's fantastic to have all these people show up. It's really a good thing to see interest in utilizing the tool. So you can register here. There also has been a pop-up for Training Tuesdays registration. So upon login, there was a pop-up that said, you know, you can register right there. You can always come in to help and do so. And then there are other items within help. Asset view walkthrough. Again, I love asset view. I'm always going to do an asset view walkthrough. Our supported browsers, which I'll tell you right now, are Chrome and the latest version of Chrome and Microsoft Edge. Installation and troubleshooting guides are here as well. So based on the device that you have, you would be able to then find installation guides, troubleshooting guides right here. You can also find those in our resource center, which is always located up in that section. Current release information. We will discuss with you and describe to you any releases that are new on the user interface. And then we don't get rid of that information, because we'll then move it to the previous release information section once we've already, it's been current, you've looked at it. Then we have another one. We'll move the older ones into previous. Training Tuesdays information is here. Training videos and webinar videos. So I do know we have a project underway to completely overhaul the training videos and the webinar videos. Some of them may be older, so we are currently working through that, utilizing the Training Tuesdays videos that we're going to put on YouTube. So you're able to access some videos here, and then contact us, which is how you can get in contact with our support and our support team via email or phone. Close that up. You can email customer care here. This is a hot link to an email. All right, and walk me. Well, show me how is up here. Excuse me. All right, so our show me how section is fantastic, and I'll show you how to utilize it right here. When you click on Show Me How, welcome to the new asset view. Here we go again. You can use this feature to define, and I already started to go over this. I'm not going to read verbatim what it says on the screen, but what you'll be able to do whenever you see Show Me How is click on it, and then it'll give you steps. It's either going to tell you to do something, which is what it's going to do right here, or it's just going to describe the feature to you. So when you see Show Me How, that's something that we at SkyBitz feel you need a little bit of extra help with, because if you're not making training Tuesdays, if you're not watching videos or haven't asked questions live with a rep, we'd like to be able to communicate with you on the Show Me How, and that is a fantastic way to work through any newer sections of the user interface. It will tell you how many steps there are, and again, if it's going to tell you to do something, it'll tell you to click it, scroll through it, whatever you need to do, or it'll just be instructional. So let me close that up. Okay, so in review of landmarks, we discussed when to set them up, and again, now, right away, today, do that right away. Why to set them up allows you to utilize different features and functionality of the system, and how to set them up. So that is in Manage Settings and Landmarks, Add, and then you can also add them via the Asset View, Asset List. The map will show you if a device is within a landmark or if you can add it as a landmark. So you can make a quick decision, one-off, on a landmark based on that map showing. All right, so what we would like to do now, and I apologize for any technical difficulties we had. I heard some background noise and I didn't mean to have any interruptions. What we'd like to do now with these last 20 minutes is to open up the floor for questions. So if you have a question, I believe you can raise your hand. And if you'd like to talk, you can raise your hand, or if you would like to put questions in the question section. I'm not sure if anybody put questions in the chat, but I believe now would be a good time to start doing that. And I think I have some help with that today. Anybody?
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Great job on the presentation.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. We do have one question that came in. I believe it was answered, but maybe something worth sharing with the group. The question: are there any benefits of the circular compared to the perceived accuracy of the multi-point?
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing a multi-point landmark, you're putting a finer point on it, right? So you're able to zoom in with the pull points on the sides, really get it, especially if you, I do work with some customers that have back-to-back landmarks. So they do need to use the multi-point, yard A, yard B, and they're in the same spot, but they need to define those two sections of a yard. And my general, in the years I've been in the GPS business, circular are for larger, more broad ranges. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any new questions. Oh, looks like we have some hand raised. All right, Hector, you've been unmuted. If you have a question, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I just create a landmark, but it's not showing me any assets. I'm not sure if I do anything wrong.
You probably did it right. And you just created it, you said? While we were on the call, did you create it? So what I'll answer your question, I think that you're asking. So if you just created the landmark now, the devices need to report within that landmark to then show up that they're in the landmark. So I know you just created it, and you definitely know it's a spot where you have some assets. Once they report, then they'll show across the spectrum of the Insight platform. I hope that helped, Hector. Thank you for the question, and thank you for creating a landmark while we were on the phone. That's fantastic. I hope more people did that. I don't want this at all to be intimidating. I think that's why a lot of people don't create landmarks on their own because they don't want to mess anything up. But as you can see, you can delete anything that you've created and you will not break anything on our web-based system. Any other questions?
Yes, we have another question from David.
Okay.
All right, David, I've unmuted you. If you'll unmute yourself, go ahead with your question.
Okay, I should be unmuted. Yeah, I've got a question regarding setting up a landmark. If I set up a landmark, is there any way for someone, say myself, to get notified of one of my assets in that landmark, like an email notification?
Yes, so we do have an upcoming, David, if we can actually offline it, if you wanted to reach out, we can have somebody reach out to you if you want to provide your information, but we can further discuss notifications. We're going to talk about those in a later session, but yes to your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right. Another question we have is while adding a landmark name, we still can't add parentheses. Is there a way to do that?
I know there are certain, and I apologize for not being 100% prepared on that answer, but I know there are certain characters that cannot be utilized. So there are limitations to the name, and I definitely thank you for bringing that question up. It's a good one. So as far as that list, instead of saying them out loud, I could probably send it if the participant is available. If I have their email address, I can send the list of approved characters. If we have that available.
List of approved characters. Okay. Sure.
I can do that. That's a really good question, and I actually should have talked about that when we were going over the landmark creation. Thank you for that question.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, another question we have says, can I ping or page a trailer in the event it's saying that it's in a specific location per the landmark?
Can you read that again to me, Scott? I'm sorry.
Sure. Can I ping or page the trailer in the event it's saying that it's in a specific location per the landmark?
Yes, I don't necessarily, I think I understand the question. Yes, you can ping any of your assets. And that's another session. And if we can get that person's information, I can have a one-off discussion. I would be able to I'd be happy to have you reach out to your asset in the event that you need to ping it. Conversation, certainly.
Excellent, thank you. All right, another question we have. I have a custom landmark that is close to the border, and some assets show in the landmark on the map, but post only the city name and not within the landmark. Is there a way to change the settings to show within the landmark?
So they're showing within the landmark, if you look at the map, if I'm understanding correctly, but they're not showing the actual name of the landmark when you're looking them up, and I'm assuming the locate assets section. I believe that it happens occasionally. I'd like to kind of take that one case by case to take a specific look at that. I can't really generalize an answer for that one. I know our care team can help with that. Again, I can reach out afterwards to look at your specific question. We would be happy to help you out with that if that's regularly occurring at that landmark. If you are looking at the asset and it is sitting just outside of the landmark, then I would just say go to the manage settings, edit landmark section, and just pull those little borders out a little bit further so that you're able to then capture anywhere that an asset would be sitting. But if you've done that and it's showing you on the map that it's sitting within that landmark, then give us a call or I will reach out specifically and we can discuss your specific case.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Our next question says, what's a good way to find out what landmarks we have today so I can update them?
That's a great question. At the very beginning, I probably talked way too fast and answered that question, but you can reach out to customer care or you can reach out to a success manager. We can pull a list of the entire landmarks, of all the landmarks that you have in your account. Currently, you'd have to go state by state to look at them, but a lot of people just want, hey, can you dump me out a list out of my account? I want to, take a look at them all, maybe delete some of them, add new ones. So reach out to care or reach out to a success manager, and they would be happy to do that for you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Next I have is, I might have missed it, but you said there's a way to see empty trailers in a landmark if you're using a cargo sensor?
Correct. So when you are on this screen here, assets at landmark, and then there are a multitude of sensors over here. Not everybody has them showing because you don't need to, right? And then cargo is either yes or cargo is no. Either means I'm going to see all my empties and all my full, but here I want to see no cargo and landmark name. So those filters combined. So if I wanted to put one of the ones I created, I can't count on results here, but this is how you would do it. And then you would hit submit. The next item you'll see would be that map. And I was probably going to say 0. Exactly, but here's where you would be defaulted to, and then you would see all of the assets that met those filter criteria. Then you would hit asset list, and it would give you all of the assets in one list that you're able to then look at and make that decision right then. So it's a really quick way to do that. Good question, thank you.
All right. Next question we have is, do you have a list or is there an easy way to get a list of truck stop landmarks for, say, pilot truck stops?
To get pilot truck stop list. Not within the system. I can't pull up a list based on your account settings, in each individual account. But what we can do, and those would probably be generic landmarks, not custom landmarks. These are called custom landmarks, the ones that we're talking about setting up today. I would say if you use Pilot mostly, then you could probably get a list from the company, or if you wanted to chat offline, I could certainly brainstorm with you to figure out how we could get that information. I would be happy to help out.
Excellent. All right. I think that's the last of our questions, unless anybody has any they want to type in real quick or raise their hand so we can unmute them.
Yeah, and anyone that I've said, we can have an offline discussion, I will certainly be happy to do that. We have to make sure we have your email address. I think you needed that to get onto the webinar, and then just your name, and if the company you work for is not apparent in your email address, which most of you probably will be, just let me know what company you work for. If we're able to, I think, Scott, we can get the email and the name, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and I'll try to figure out based on the email extensions. I will certainly be able to reach out and have a conversation with people that I need to. All the questions are really good, and questions mean, I want to use landmarks, I'm using them, why isn't it working properly, or why can't I see it properly, or I'm using landmarks and I think they're awesome, but I just needed to know how else to utilize them. I hope I've, kind of stimulated that curiosity, because really a lot of people, I think, maybe hesitate to go deeper into the site just because they don't want to do something that might alter the view or affect other users. And I just want you to know, like, making these landmarks is a fantastic way to just start using other sections of the site. It won't affect anybody else in a negative way. You can delete everything you've done. You can edit things. Landmarks do set you up for success in the future with, again, yard checks, detention, trailer pools, all super helpful functions in the system that, again, allow you to run your business more efficiently. And that's, why we want to help out with these Training Tuesday sessions, because we want to make sure that our customers are aware of different features and functionality of the system, and how do I set up my company for success. And SkyBitz is certainly 100% geared towards setting our customers up for success. Training Tuesday will take place next week, and I want to thank everyone for attending. As I mentioned, you're our partners. Helping you leverage this powerful tool is really what Training Tuesdays is all about. So we're at the very beginning of this, and it's been a long time coming to do a weekly training session. We're super happy to be able to do it because week 2, we've had more participants, which is fantastic, more questions, which is excellent. I love questions. And again, if I can't answer them, I certainly will defer to people that can, but I hope I've helped everybody out a little bit today. What we are going to do is send a quick 6-question survey to all of the participants. And I know as a customer success manager, feedback on how I do my job is the most important thing to me, especially from customers, because I am a customer success manager. So I always take surveys. I hope that when we send you the survey that you can take 2 minutes to complete them. I think a majority of those 6 questions are, what level, the stars level that you give the presentation, the content, was it helpful? Questions like that. So it's going to continue to help us, and especially me. So I thank you in advance for improving these sessions. So September 1st, 11 o'clock, we're going to continue the landmark discussion. We'll go into nested landmarks and landmark groups and how those two are helpful in utilizing the system. And then we're going to also show you how to utilize locations in asset-based searches, and we're going to go into asset-based searching. And if there aren't any other questions, I would like to thank everyone for attending. Scott, did anything else pop up, or?
No more questions at this time.
No? All right. And I will hang on for a couple of minutes, but I would like to thank everybody for attending today. And I hope to see you all next week on Training Tuesdays. Thank you, everybody.